any screaming happening in the background. Children.
Oh, you know what? That's totally okay. Totally okay. And then I'm going to have to go into YouTube, and then I'm going to have to mute it.
See what I mean?
There. I think we've done it. Welcome to Dive into World Building. And we are here, and we are now, and we are talking about personal habits. I am not sure what brought this on. But I was thinking about, well, I don't know. I always like to try to find underrepresented topics, things that are so tiny that people don't necessarily talk about them when they talk about world building. It's one of my favorite things to try to seek out. So like brushing your teeth, or, well, I mean, we can talk about habits on a number of different levels, but things like brushing your teeth, opening and closing doors, and how you open and close your doors.
Yeah, I just went.
Whether you're just expected to go slam, or whether you're expected to turn the handle and make sure it's all the way shut and then unturn the handle.
And they're based on so many things, like what you're used to.
Yeah.
The technology, the condition of the handle and the door.
And what they're made of.
Can you close the door? Can you just slam the door? Is the lock arranged so that it will actually close? Or
does it have a latch? Does it have a lock?
Turn the handle to make sure that it closes because it's older, it's creaky, or it was installed backwards.
Sure. Or, is the weather wet and the door has expanded and you have to fight to get it shut?
Yeah. Car doors. Car doors. If you grew up with a car made of heavy duty steel, you had to slam the door. And the thing when I was a teenager, maybe, and they were starting to use lighter materials, and people would say, "Don't slam the door." Okay, fine. If it will close and not being slammed,
still slam the door.
Right. And I got
but
used
then
to it,
we also have the automatic doors where you press a button and it slowly goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had slightly warped doors in my apartment building, so even though I didn't have an exterior door to my apartment, it just went into the hallway, I had to slam it. So moving here, I just slammed things. And they're like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Because I don't know, stuff."
Yeah.
But I also had a critique of the game that I am currently editing, and I was like, "Okay, we're setting it in the 800s again now, and we have all this stuff going on. Like, have you noticed that no one ever goes to the bathroom? And wouldn't that be a really good place to have like flaps and buttons and anything but a zipper?"
Yeah.
And back when we had to care which direction one dress. So yeah, that's a whole other part of it. It's like nobody talks about the lack of elastic and what that does to underwear if you wear them, which a lot of people really didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole thing. Like, yeah, underwear and socks are a big one.
Yes, for sure. That's what garters were for.
Well, indeed. Nobody ever really talks about what holds up your hosen.
Your hosen. Yes. That's awesome.
Well, sometimes they were cut on the bias.
Uh-huh.
So there actually was some give to them, but no one had elastic, so there wasn't much. So yeah, I don't think we really thank the universe enough for Lycra.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do regularly, but probably still not enough.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's definitely part of it. You know, when you walk through a door, are you expected to shut it behind you or not?
Mm-hmm.
That is a big thing in farm culture.
Yep.
You leave the gate how you found it. If it was open when you found it, leave it open. If it was closed when you found it, leave it closed.
Yep.
And that's actually something that I never, not never, very, very rarely. Kelly Robson and, the woman who writes about wolves, and I can't remember her name, have written specifically about how to go through a gate with a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Process. And pretty much everybody else is like, no, and they went through the gate with the horses. I'm like, no, that's not how, it's a 5-minute, oh, dear God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing falls apart if somebody doesn't do their thing. If somebody says, okay, this gate is this gate was open, so whoops, I'll close it, and because I closed the gates, because that's a habit. So that, and that might be a culture thing, it might be a personal experience thing, it might be, I can't remember if it was open or closed when I came through it seconds ago. So
but then there's
it certainly directs you to pay attention to certain types of things in certain types of ways, doesn't it?
Right. Well, and there will be repercussions later. If you shut the gate, and that's the gate the cows use to come home, someone's going to go out for milking at 8 p.m. and go, where the heck are all of my cattle? They're all going to be standing at the gate going, there's like...
Yeah, and it can cause problems. Or tiny little minor things, like the house that we used to live in had cabinet doors that wouldn't close. So we moved into a house where the doors closed. And so my thing is the drawers work and the cabinet doors work, and I want them, if you're done with it, close it. And there's only one other person living in this house right now. And I don't know if it's because we lived for so long in a house that those things didn't happen, that they just didn't work. You just couldn't close the drawers or the doors. But we've lived here now as long as we lived there. So maybe it's just
habit.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, speaking of personal habits, I really don't like the sound of cabinet doors or drawers slamming. And so I will tend to leave them open. And then I'll be like, why did I leave them open? But I'm more likely to leave them open if I'm in a hurry. Because if I'm not in a hurry, I will close them so that they close quietly.
Right.
But so that's a little quirk of me. And this is, it's like you can learn world stuff, but you can also learn character stuff. Does this particular character close drawers?
Yeah.
And how does that affect things?
Well, and that's like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with that. Like, I might leave a cabinet door open, and you might leave a cabinet door open, and then we hear someone else slam their face in the cabinet door and go, oh, yeah, it doesn't happen to me. Okay.
Right? Well, so yeah, I mean, I love to think about character habits, and I'm gonna try really hard not to get super sidetracked onto character habits, but like one of my characters in Mazes of Power has OCD, so he's got quite a lot of habits. And one of the questions that comes up is, you know, everybody has habits. And in fact, that's one of the lines in the book. Everyone has habits. But, you know, when are those habits actually the kinds of habits that will make your life a form of suffering, right? And when will they not? You know,
well, and what do your habits like,
that you, sorry?
Oh, I was just saying, and what habits do you expect of other people for no apparent reason? Like I just bought an SUV and people look at me and go, well, you're a tiny person. Why would you need a large car? And I'm like, yes, because the entire world is sized down to me the moment I show up. Not.
Yeah.
A horse trailer. I can't do it with a freaking Mazda.
Yeah.
It's what you expect out of people. Because it's like, I may be a tiny person. I have a lot of big jobs to do.
But the other thing about that, which I think I mentioned was on that post, was that I find it much easier in my SUV to see the road. I'm high enough to see the road and high enough to, it's adjustable enough. I can see over the steering wheel without feeling like I'm peering over the steering wheel. And that is not a thing that happens in most sedans.
Well, you know, actually, this is interesting because it brings in an extra layer. That is only true so long as the majority of cars on the road are not SUVs. So you can have historical change in those kinds of habits because, you know, all of a sudden, you know, there are too many SUVs and you're not getting the comparative advantage anymore.
Well, I'm getting it, except that it's being high enough to see the road over the hood of the car rather
that's
than
true.
Being able to see the road. I mean, yes, when everybody's in an SUV, I can't necessarily see around the other car, but I can't necessarily see around the other car if it's a sedan either, because people will pull out until it's.
I actually noticed that because I'm in an electric car, and at the moment, the majority of other cars on the road are not electric cars, I have an acceleration advantage almost all the time. Because electric cars have really fantastic torque. But what's really interesting is the more electric cars there are on the road, that advantage is going to disappear, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And actually, if like what I was talking about size differences, you can project that into other areas of history, sort of. Because I ride horses. I always get the biggest horse in the barn. Always. I have no idea why. I am not choosing this. I always get the biggest horse in the barn. And it's just ridiculous. That it you know, this has been happening since I was 4. And so when people are like, well, you shouldn't have a big thing, I'm like, dude, it's a thing. I don't even, what? But I've never heard anyone in a story say things like that. You know, I've never heard somebody look at the person next to them who's their friend, who they've, you know, going through childhood, equestrian, whatever, they get to the new training facility and they are being assigned horses and they hand the small person the biggest horse and the person next to them goes, again. Because that's always happened to them.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. There's a lot of little tiny like personalizations that kind of don't happen because people aren't thinking on the granular level of this person always shoves their hands in their pocket.
Yeah.
This person gesticulates when they talk. This person is nervous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we getting far afield?
No, actually, we're talking about habits. So shoving your hands in your pockets is definitely a thing. Or, or the kinds of things that you carry with you in your pockets.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why do you shove your hands in your pockets? Is it because your mother's been telling you for your entire life to put your hands in your pockets and don't freaking touch anything? Is it because you don't want people to look at your hands?
Yeah.
Is it because you don't know what to do with them otherwise?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because the stone that you flip when you're nervous is in your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. One of the other things that I like to think about is how people look at each other. And of course, people look at each other. But that is actually kind of a habit question in my view, because people look at each other in different ways, right? So you can express a ton of stuff about character size by just adding the word up or down when people are looking at each other, right? I'm writing a 13-year-old kid now, and he's not super tall. And so, and he's, talking with people who are taller. So he has to look up at them, right? But so often those details get omitted, right?
And also, what would he be looking up at them? Is he in his mind going, oh my God, this guy's nose hair needs such a trim?
Yes, I have a nose hair moment.
Okay. There's always that 70% or something of people have a scar under their chin, and 50% of those, when asked about it, won't tell you what it was because it was something stupid. There's that. There's also, if you're at somebody's chin height, guess how bad their BO is to you?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And Kate, you will know this one. Leaning on your head, using your head for an armrest, using your shoulder for an armrest. The whole
automatic nut punching.
I believe every word of that. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Resting things on your head, trying to be silly. Oh, you know what we haven't talked about? Kind of the larger category of I'm trying to do icebreakers, but I don't have your consent, so I'm doing stupid things. So yeah, it's the resting your head on that, asking tall people, how's the weather up there? All those things your grandpa said that weren't funny then and aren't funny now. There's another one that I really hate that falls under that, which is when you meet someone an inch or two taller than you, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so short!" And I'm like, you hate it when people do this to you. Why are you doing it to other people? And so that would be actually a moment I would have vignette I would put in a book.
Yeah.
This is this interaction, and this is the stuff.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a habit. All those things people just say are habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. My story, The Liars, has a dude in it who's really, really huge. And I had to make sure he was always having trouble. He was always having to duck or carefully go around the table and try to get into the chair, or, and then the other thing that he would do, was try to look small when he looked at people so he wouldn't frighten them. Right? So that if he turns around, people aren't going to go, ah, So, but that was kind of fun to manage, and it gave him a whole set of habits.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that kind of thing where one of my friends from high school, his mother was very tiny, but he and his dad and his brother, they were all tall. And I think his sister was also tall. And they lived in an older farmhouse with low ceilings. So he just walked around.
Yep.
Ducking and with his shoulders hunched, and it wasn't a it was a physical thing. It wasn't a self-esteem thing. It wasn't necessarily a trying to look smaller thing, though it's entirely possible that people didn't know about his house, assumed it was a self-esteem thing and that he was trying to
yeah.
And I kind of wonder how that assumption affected his self-image.
This is also a problem for people who are on submarines who are over about 5'9", because those door sills tend to be loaded with concrete. So you're going to bark your head on that maybe twice. Yeah. And once it heals, you hunch over. And they do look like that. Bubblers do look like that.
Yeah.
There was a fellow in my dorm in Japan who used to bang his head on the soffits. So that was unfortunate. And we kept wondering why they were there. There were these like glass panels. Like seriously, they were glass panels that came down from the ceiling about 6 inches, like that. And they just stuck them at intervals in the hall, and we're like, what is that for? Other than like causing this dude to like have a permanent headache. You know? So
that is interesting. I don't know what. I mean, we have soffits in our kitchen that house lights, but aside from that,
yeah, no, it was odd. I kept wondering if it was like, intended to stop smoke from carrying along the corridor or something, like, but why?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just very mysterious. So let's see, carrying writing implements with you.
And
or paper.
There's a depth moment with that one, which is people tend to talk about people having writing implements. They have pen and ink. They have like stoppered bottles of ink.
Yeah.
But they often don't have sand or wax or a pen knife or all of the other things that go along with that. It's sort of like you very rarely hear of anybody putting their hauberk in a barrel of sand and rolling it around the yard for an hour. Because that's how you got rust off of iron, and there was no stainless steel then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was. There you go.
Yeah. And there are habits that, I am not an organized person in many respects because my brain doesn't do that. I have made deliberately some very important habits. I get out of the car, or I take the keys out of the ignition, and unless I'm going to lock the car, I put them in my purse before I ever get out of the car. Because otherwise, next time I need them, I got no idea where they'll be.
Yeah.
So you can have people who have habits that seem incongruous with the rest of them, with the rest of their personality, but actually fit pretty well because,
some habits are self-protective.
Yeah.
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 Actually, I just gave, and so, okay, so I'm going to tell you about this because I don't know. I'm working on my character by the name of Adon. He's my 13-year-old kid. And I'm starting to get to know him. And one of his things is he loves clothes. Okay. So he has all kinds of clothes habits, right? But two of them are that when he gets upset, he changes his clothes. And he assesses people around him on the basis of their clothes. Now, we all do this to some extent, but we usually don't make it a super explicit activity that we spend time on. We're not all, looking at the people around us as though they're showing up at the Met Gala and we have to analyze them, right? But I am having him analyze other people's clothes, you know, in situations where other people would not do that same thing. So, you know, he'll say things like, well, you know, Lady Salome's dress looked like it was made out of steel, you know, panels of steel. So she was obviously taking this seriously. Right? You know, like he may not be right about those things, but that's how he assesses people. So, you know, having him do that is actually kind of fun. Because it gives me a filter for his descriptions, you know. It's a way for me to connect world to sort of appearances, to activities, to character. And so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's important. It's so important to be able to have fun while you're writing, so it doesn't turn into drudgery. And this is a big way that can happen. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the excerpt that I posted, the first draft of the conversation among all of the aliens that I'm writing about how humans lie to get laid.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of another one of things we don't think about as weird. But if you can step far enough outside of your known sphere, all of a sudden, all the things we do get very, very strange. You know, because if you think about it, as far as we know, no other species has really invented dental floss. So if we meet carnivorous aliens, even if they've managed to get to toothbrushes, they probably haven't.
Yep.
You know, and then there's always the thing of habits that we classic one is people who think that chickens are herbivores.
Yeah.
And the same goes as far as I'm concerned for dinosaurs. They go, oh, they're totally carnivorous. You know what? Almost is totally carnivorous. So I'm willing to bet that T-Rex was eating a plant here or there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to write that. But there's a lot of that. You know, people don't think that cats eat fruit, and they do.
Yeah, they do. Well, so I mean, we also have these attendant narratives that we attach to all of our habits too. Like, you know, I apportion my food in the following way because there is some deeper moral health reason, right?
Yeah, there's, you know, I have realized in the last year or two that like I put a lot more vegetables in things than other people, and I think that's weird because I've never been a vegetable person, but dear God. Yeah, that's totally a thing. Like how much of your stuff is, you know, sort of finger food, tapas, aperitif sort of thing. You know, are you even having a main meal? Are you just finger food? What if you don't have fingers? What do turtles do? I don't know.
Yeah. Are you eating between meals? Like, okay, so food, you could go off on that for ages, but there's so much habitus surrounding food.
And what kind of drink are you having that kind of food? Because I am a milk drinker, and people are like, oh my God, that's gross. I'm like, yeah, but that's how I feel about kombucha. Like you're drinking some moldy thing. No. So yeah, that all of that stuff. Like, what did you grow up eating? Are you still eating it?
Yeah.
Are you going to eat something different? You know, how do you deal with other cultures? How well does that go? I don't think I'm ever going to try gach, but I can see why people might.
Yeah. I think whether we vocalize our narratives around food is also a form of habit. Like what we talk about and when and how is a habit set.
Oh, yes. No politics over dinner.
Habits and rules. Habits based on rules that you grow up with.
Yep.
So, yeah, do you fix your mail a plate? Because that's a huge thing, which I didn't know about until a couple of months ago.
Fix your what, a plate?
Do you fix your mail a plate? If you are sitting down with your family and you are dishing out food, you dish out the first plate to Tim.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to be looking obtuse over here. No, actually. So because it strikes me that there are several ways of handling food dishing out. But what I do is I cook everything in the kitchen. And then at a certain point, I lay out all the plates. Mm-hmm. And I dish out all the plates. And I don't think I ever put them in a particular order, but I know my mother does. Like, you know, me, Michael, you know, Juliet, Tim, whatever, you know, but like she always has an order that she does it in. And then, but for me, I just kind of go, okay, how many people we have? Get out the plates, stick them on the counter, dish the food into them. And then sometimes I have an idea of whose is whose. And sometimes I'm like, pick the one you want and take it to the table. Right. But I don't bring the full dishes to the table and then ask people to serve at the table. So, yeah.
Yep. And in a lot of families, especially Black families, and I think a couple other cultures, but I can't think of any right now, the woman is dishing things out and the first plate always goes to the male of the house. Wow. Who also always sits at the head of the table, which is there a head of your table? And I happen to know your house, and no, there's not.
No, there is no head of the table.
No. And I've seen you do this. If it is a situation of dishing things out at the table, everything goes on the lazy Susan and everybody runs around. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I have no clear recollection of how it was in my house growing up. But I know my mom did all of the cooking until my dad retired, pretty much.
Yeah.
So probably I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know, I know that I know that my husband usually waits until I've taken what I want before he serves himself. And sometimes if I'm in the middle of something, he'll serve me. He'll just bring me food and then he can take what he wants. But we have a very non-traditional household.
Do you wait for someone to serve themselves first? Would you take the last piece of food on a plate?
Yes, because I hate people who don't. I will also empty the milk. Just don't even put it back in with a 1/4 inch of milk in it. Don't.
Yeah.
But that's me being very much against my Midwestern upbringing, where no, you did not do that. But I'm like, no, I'm done. I also live alone most of the time, so I'm having the first one, the last one, and everyone in between.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And that's another one. Like, if you live alone, you have a whole different set of stuff than people who live in a family. I ate standing up over my counter with my laptop open for 5 years.
Yeah.
I didn't want a table. I didn't need a table. There was nothing. And the further away from my cats my food was, the better.
Yeah.
You know, so there, you can do totally different things if you don't have this overall structure.
Yeah.
I actually love the way that, what's her face? Mercedes Lackey actually thought pretty clearly about that. And it's evident in her work because she thought about how the structure of the castle works and how having a family within it works. And so you have these moments where you're going to go eat with the collegium dinner, and 3 of them are like, I will go down to court, and one of them is like, I'm gonna go CAD some crap out of the kitchen. Like it's not this big huge family set piece. It's whoever wants to do the stuff they want to do.
Yeah. My husband has a tendency to eat quickly. Whether you eat quickly or slowly is a habit. He eats quickly because if he didn't eat quickly, everybody else at the table was going to take all the food.
Brothers, didn't he?
He's the last of 5.
Are they all boys?
Nope. 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's right about that. And I'm surprised he doesn't have a fork in his opposite hand, in his non-dominant hand, to stab people coming near his plate. The thing in prison, people will like grab their plate and hold it and just shovel to keep people from grabbing stuff off their plate.
Yeah.
And I come from a family sharing household. So you share and grab things from other people. You ask first in my life, but you can have that piece of asparagus. And my friend Jen, who I was in Africa with for 5 weeks, oh my God, do not get your hands anywhere near her plate or you will draw back a stone. It's very different.
Yeah, in my family, there was always this question of, if you're hungry, should you offer everyone else food?
And I think we did the Midwestern version is, I'm hungry, I'm going to go get food. So do you want some? It's like, do you want to come with?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going someplace.
Yeah, in my household, it's, I'm in the mood to have some tea. Hey, guys, would you like to have some tea?
Yep.
But like, it comes across as weird to me if somebody just, grabs something to eat and then just goes off and eats it somewhere. Like why? There are other people in the house. Like, if it's only me, sure. Like there are other people in the house. Why didn't you talk to them? Like, isn't that funny?
Well, and there's also the impunity. Like, I have a friend who's very, very, very Minnesotan. And if we're in the car together, she will say things like, are we hot? We're hot. Should we open the window? Are we hot? I mean, I'm hot, and I would like to open a window. And I'm like, could you just be direct about that? And the answer is no. No, she can't.
Yeah. Yeah, the do you offer other people food? And I feel like we used to do that, but now there are 2 of us and we have very different diets. And very different, there are things that I can eat or do eat that he doesn't or can't. There are things that he likes that I just don't. So it doesn't happen the same way. If I'm visiting my folks and my mom's in the kitchen and I want tea, I'll say, I'm going to heat up some water. Do you want some tea? If she's not in the room, then I won't go upstairs and say, hey, I'm making tea. Do you want some?
Yeah. Well, so why is this stuff important? I mean, it's local color in some ways. But if you're thinking through a completely alternate universe, you never know when you're going to run into things that are different, right? And potentially quite importantly different. Here's the thing. The way people ask questions and ask permission to get consent to do things. That's something that I've spent a lot of time on, and Kate knows it. Because in the Varan Imbati servant cast, you have to ask permission before you can ask a question. You want to be polite. And if you want to touch somebody or be touched, you have to open up the discussion by putting your hand out in a particular way and getting them to respond in the particular way before you're allowed to actually touch each other. Mm-hmm. Like, in some ways, it'd be nice if there were more codified ways of talking about how we want to cross boundaries in our world, right? That's one of the reasons why I thought it was so interesting to play around with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the thing in, again, when I was in Africa, shaking hands is a thing. But most likely what would happen is I would put my hand out and they would grasp my forearm and expect me to grasp theirs, because that means a deeper respect and a deeper connection. So yeah, there's stuff like that. You know, that, like, how well do you do the French cheek kiss? Do you know which side to go to first? Do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
how many times? How many times are you supposed to do the kiss?
Yeah. So these things, these habits that we have, you know, for doing things like closing cabinets or opening doors or shaking hands or things that seem inconsequential, they take time.
Yeah.
A few seconds to close a door, or, you know, a few more seconds to close it carefully. And so different habits to accomplish a similar thing, or that gets stuffed into a sequence of larger actions, might change the time, the timeline for something.
You know, and in fact, I find that to be very important when I'm writing the Cantor, who has OCD and who has his lists of habits that he has to complete, right? It takes an enormous amount of his time and energy. You know, he'll do stuff like he has this thought process he has to go through before he can open a door, right? Or go out the front door of his house, and he'll walk into the front vestibule and he'll be like, it's not easy to go out. And he'll have to think through, how much danger am I in? He's got this routine where he has to think about what risks he'll face outside the door before he can even touch the door handle. So the time required for habits ended up becoming really interesting.
Yeah. The time that, not just your time, other people's time.
Yeah.
We have a person whose habit here, like, here, there is no passageway that's really bigger than 18 inches. So, like, it's a doorway.
Yeah.
But the part to the ceiling is really open. When you get down to waist level, there are tables and all of that stuff. When you get down to foot level, we're at 8 inches for a path through the house. Because when you get down to about shin level, they start putting things on the floor, like dog bowls and things like that. And so it constricts the walk-through space. Then there's constant shoes and underwear and all of this stuff. And we have 3 dogs and 4 cats, so they're running through there. So it's really, really hard to walk anywhere. And there's going to be a point at which I'm going to write this. And one of the people who doesn't necessarily do this is going to walk through and kick the dog water over for the last time and just lose their damn mind.
Yeah.
What? You know, but this is someone else's habit that we just have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's habits and space. You know, and even habits that are not.
We should spend an hour on space.
We should spend an hour on space.
Yeah, and the kinds of things that fill it.
Yeah.
Or don't fill it. You know, and the things that are intentional, like a table and chairs, and the things that are not intentional, like the box you brought in from the car, meaning to do something with it.
Right? And then it just landed.
Ask me how I know.
Please don't. Well, and then there's also that thing where you'll have a space and you'll put something in it, and then it will stop being top of mind, and then you'll forget it's there. It'll be right there in plain sight. I've been walking around my vacuum for several days.
And sometimes it's really deliberate. And actually, if this is deliberate on the part of the author, but I've been reading the CAD file mysteries.
Oh.
And that guy can go on for a page and a half about how high someone's brow is, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? I'm on like number 20 of them. I could not tell you what his monk's cell looks like. I couldn't tell you what's in it. He never talks about that. He constantly over describes everything else. But CADFile, and including CADFile himself and how he thinks of himself. But the space that he inhabits kind of doesn't exist. Really weird.
That's a different sort of thing, but that's definitely another topic we could explore, is blind spots and white rooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
That's
now I have
we have to talk about that. So two topics coming out right here at the end.
Who did that? Who did the stuff in that white room? Blah 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 with the curtains. Blah.
Was that Margaret Atwood, Handmaid's Tale?
No, it's a song.
Oh, okay. Because the Handmaid's Tale starts with. It
would have been Jefferson Airplane.
Handmaid's Tale starts with a white room too.
Yeah. Okay.
There are more details in it, but it is all 100% white room.
Yeah. Huh. I don't even know if I can read that again.
Yeah, I don't know either, to be honest.
Actually, it says cream.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was moody blue.
White room.
No, it is cream. Okay.
White room with black curtains. That's one. Yeah, because you mentioned it, so I have to know.
Well,
Michael is our friend.
In my head.
That's fine. Ginger Baker decided. We can spend 3 seconds doing that.
Well, I think we are about at the end of our hour.
Okay.
We are.
And we came to 2 new topics that'll be really interesting to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that. We have a guest next week. I need to reach out to them and make sure that everything's lined up. But it's Cho Yi Liu. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. Cho Yi Liu.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, they're very cool, and I'm looking forward to talking to them. And it will be fun. And there will be horrors and language and really cool stuff. So, so definitely looking forward to that. Let me see if I can manage to stop the live stream without ending the meeting. This is a new test. Thank you so much for being here.